analysis, the charts we discussed in the show, plus the best on-air moments you may have missed with Tom Keene, Jonathan Farrow, and me. Sign up for the Bloomberg Surveillance newsletter today at Bloomberg.com/surveillance. That's Bloomberg.com/surveillance.
Bloomberg Invest returns to New York June 6th through the 8th. We'll have influential leaders from the NASDAQ, JP Morgan, the SEC, Franklin Templeton, the WNBA, Charles Schwab, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and many more. U.S. presenting sponsor, Invesco QQQ. Presenting sponsors, Allspring Global Investments, Neom, and Principal Asset Management. Participating sponsor, Southern Company. Register at BloombergLive.com/invest/radio.
When they're investigating, we can't stop watching. This month on BritBox. Sit back, relax, and enjoy watching the detectives. Discover Britain's most bingeable mysteries, including the brand new season of Grace, the hit series based on the books by best-selling author Peter James. Unwind with the detectives you could watch all night long. Stream them all now exclusively on BritBox. Endlessly intriguing. Start your free trial at BritBox.com.
This is the Bloomberg Money Minute.
Robots building robots.
Authorization code, please.
Well, that's just stupid.
That's Will Smith in the futuristic movie I, Robot. The world's not there yet, but where we're going has some worry. Tools like ChatGPT using machines to simulate human reasoning and problem solving, raising concerns at the recent World Economic Forum in Geneva. Microsoft's chief economist, Michael Schwartz, saying AI could be dangerous in the hands of bad actors. Bloomberg's Geneva, Switzerland reporter Bryce Beja.
And there are concerns about possible bias, privacy violations, and misinformation.
And that's not all. A World Economic Forum report showing in the next 5 years, nearly a quarter of all jobs will change.
That report said that AI will have a particularly pronounced impact by displacing and automating up to 26 million jobs in record-keeping and administrative positions.
For now, experts say AI remains a smaller threat to labor prospects than other factors like slower economic growth, supply shortages, and inflation. Kimberly Adams, Bloomberg Radio.
Bloomberg Radio, on demand and in your podcast feed.
On the latest edition of the Bloomberg Business Week podcast, a conversation with Bloomberg Business Week editor Joel Weber and Business Week technology reporter Drake Bennett on the magazine cover story about the Great Coke Can Caper.
It's a story about kind of the Chinese industrial complex looking for IP. It centers on yet another big secret, which is what's inside a Coke can, but not the liquid. Turns out the liner, Drake Bennett, is incredibly valuable as well.
Yeah, and potentially more useful because if you didn't have this 2-micron thick polymer liner in your Coke can, the Coke would basically devour the can.
Not just Coke, though, right? Because a lot of sodas would devour a can if they didn't have this liner.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So the liners, which are made by like BASF, Dow Chemical,
AkzoNobel, Sherwin-Williams.
So these liners are probably used by, I'm guessing, other soda makers besides Coca-Cola.
Yeah, totally. Coke occupies a particularly important position in this market because they're such a giant. So when they decide they're going to use something or not use something, it basically decides whether that thing has a market. So that happens to be the thing that this woman at the center of our story took advantage of, because she was a chemist at Coke, and she was responsible for deciding or helping decide which of these new coatings would go into Coke cans or not. And she uses this to basically get a lot more of this information than anyone at Coke had ever been able to get. And then takes it to try to start her own.
Don't give it all away.
We got some time to hear the full conversation on the latest edition of the Bloomberg Business Week podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Plus, listen anytime on the Bloomberg Business app and Bloomberg.com. Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 1061 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119. Around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Best. I'm Ed Baxter.
And I'm Denise Pellegrini. And we were just hearing a few minutes ago from former President Bill Clinton.
Yeah, right. And we also caught up with former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair.
And he had some strong words for us about problems he says Brexit is creating.
So here's Bloomberg.
Next left, and then right turn. In a quarter of a mile, right turn onto Emerald Drive. Next right, and then your destination is ahead on the left. You have arrived at your destination. The route guidance is now finished.